Howdy y'all, Techno Bob here. So today we're going to be going over different types of loops. So we're going to be going over for loops and while loops in Java, and then kind of just going over different examples. Have some pre-written examples just to kind of cover different things that these loops could do. So we want to go ahead and just start with the first example. This is just going to be a basic for loop. So basically the way that the for loop structure works is you're gonna have for, or opening up with your for, and then in parentheses you're gonna create your first variable, and then you have to declare if it's going to be an integer. So in here I put int I is equal to 0. You want to separate it using a semicolon. Once you put that, you want to put the restriction that you want it to follow, that your for loop is going to follow. So here I don't I want my loop to go up to 4, so I want it to not go greater than 5, because integer after 4 the only thing is 5, so it's only going to go up to 4. And then here I have how I want it my I to change, so, or my variable to change. So as my last one, again separated by semicolons. And then here I put I plus plus, signifying that I just want it to increase by 1 every single time. And then you want to open up your curly brackets, and then here you could write whatever command you want it to outprint if this statement is true. So here, if we go ahead and run this, as we could see, it'll do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because again it starts from 0, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then yeah, and then it won't go past 5. If I want it to equal or go up to 5, I could either change this number to 6, or I could just come over here and then, like we learned in the other video, just put this equal sign here, and then it will go up to 5, and it will do it 5 times. So that's the basics of it. Let's go into a more complex example. Here I got a nested for loop example. So again, nested just means inside of each other. So here we have a for loop inside of another for loop, and then basically I'm gonna go ahead and print it before explaining what this actually does, just so that you could kind of see and get the idea. So here we want both our I and our J to go up to 3. So here we see 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, and then so on. So as you could see, what's happening here is, again, whenever the computer or whenever the terminal compiler is running it, you go from the top going down, and then so it runs this first for loop, and then it accepts this condition, or it goes to this first condition, and then inside of it there's another for loop, so it goes into this next condition and follows this condition, printing this out until it gets out of it, and then follows the next row of the condition that is already inside of it. I know I'm saying this inside of this, but it's basically just running this one for this one, but or it's trying to run this one for every amount of times that it has to run this. So as we could see here, the J's are going to be the ones that increase 1, 2, 3 before going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then our I is just going to be 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, and then because it's printing out trying to change the J every time before changing the I. So this is really helpful whenever you want to do things like this. I know this could be done for like a lot of whenever you get into matrices or different stuff like that. But that's kind of explaining what nested loops are, or nested for loops are, and how they kind of work. And then over here we're going to try to integrate a for loop using an array. So something that we learned is here creating an array. So we could say the integer of these brackets to create an array, name the array, and then go ahead and set our array. And then once we have that, we could go ahead and open up our for loop, and then here again we want to create our variable first that we want to use. So in this case I'm gonna do integer of number, but the main difference for here for using an array is we're gonna use a colon instead of a semicolon, and then this is gonna signify grab each value from, and then you're gonna tell it what array you want it to grab it for. So here it's gonna grab it's gonna do number, and then go through every single number, or every single value within your array. and then that's going to be that value that it's pulling from your array is going to be named number, and you could use it within your system. So in here, I'm gonna have system.out.println, and then my number is, and then go ahead and add that. So let me run this, and then you can see my number is 1, my number is 2, my number is 3, my number is 4, my number is 5. And then I could switch this if I wanted to. I can make this 20, I can make this 10, I can make this 8. And then if I go ahead and print it, again, it's just pulling from these arrays. So it'll go ahead and do this. So this is really useful whenever you're trying to store values and then use them for doing repetitive things, creating what do you call it, calculators and stuff like this. This would be really useful. And then also this would work if I change this to integer to string, change this to string. I can now transfer a string or use a array that has string values inside of it for whatever I want my loop to do. So moving on to our fourth example, we're going to be using a while loop to count up to 4. So this is where we're introduced to where I'm starting to introduce while loops. So we're gonna go ahead and run this, and as you could see, it does 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty similar to how this one did it, or how the for loop did it. However, the main difference here is you set a variable outside of it. You don't set it within the actual loop. And then what do you call it? You could change the value within the actual structure, and then as soon as it finishes it's gonna recheck this condition, and then it's gonna be constantly rechecking this condition every time it finishes the code inside of it to make sure it's true in order to keep executing the code. So again, this printed up to 4. If I wanted it to print up to 5, I could make this equal to is less than or equal to 5, or I could just set it to set this number to 6. So that's sort of just explaining the while loop and how kind of it is similar to the for loop. Let me go ahead and start using seeing how for loops could be, or how while loops could be used much more efficiently. So here I'm gonna set I want to go ahead and sum all the numbers from 1 to 10, and then so I'm gonna set my sum integer as 0 because my sum is 0, and then here I'm gonna set a variable of number. My first number, I want it to equal 1, and then while my number is less than or equal to 10, it's going to go ahead and run this command. So while it's less, it's going to go ahead and add the number to my sum, change the number or increase the number by 1, and then run it again. If it's less than, it'll add it again, it'll increase it by 1, and then keep doing that for every single time. And then here at the very end, because this is outside, it'll print my sum at the very end. But if I wanted to check how it's doing over time, I could do a print in here and then be able to see it every single time it changes. Our sixth example is going to be using a while loop to print every even number from 1 to 10. So here we're going to use an if command within a while command, or within a while loop. And then so what this allows us to separate different forms of data, or kind of just organize things while also keeping it things that might be more repetitive. So here this will run it every single time. If I wanted to go up to 100, it will go up to 100 and find every single even number, so that you don't have to be the one going through and finding. And then this could be used for more complex things, so if you want to find any multiples of pi or anything similar to that. But here, if we go ahead and run this, so we get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and again, it's thanks to this while loop that's printing it every single time. If it's not or it thanks to this if command, and then if it's not inside of this, or if it's not as we can see here, a remainder after it's divided by 2, if its remainder is equal to 0 after it's divided by 2, it'll go ahead and print it. If not, it'll just bypass this and then keep increasing until it reaches its limit of 10. And then our final example is going to be using strings and then getting a string and then reversing the order of that string. So here I'm gonna create a string named hello, a string named just reverse string, or a string names str and then with the string hello inside of it, and a string named reverse str with just leaving it blank, and then an integer just or a variable called index that's an integer with the length of the string minus 1, just because of the system, because of we start from 0. And then so here we're going to run the while, and then as long as the index is greater than or equal to 0, so as long as as long as the value is what it All right, so for our 7th example, we're going to be covering how to use strings and then how to run it with the while loop. So here I'm going to be reversing the order of whatever string it's given. So here I have a variable named string, or a variable that's a string type named str just with the hello, and then another string named reverse string with nothing inside of it, and then we're going to have an integer index, and then that's going to be the length of it. In our while loop, we're going to go ahead and put the index, make sure it's greater than 0, just to make sure we run it for every single, we go through every single value that's in the length, or that's the length of whatever string we put into it, so we can make sure we get every single character and reverse it. And then from here, the reverse string is going to go ahead and add into the reversed string every single value of each index. So from here, it's going to go ahead and start from the highest, because it's getting the whole length. So it's going to start from here, then drop, then slowly drop, adding these one by one until we have our reverse string. And then here we could go ahead and run it and see that it does just that. So that's how you could use, that's various different types of ways that you could use loops. Loops are very helpful for all programming languages, not just Java, but it is very important to learn how to apply it in Java. So, thank you for watching.